So I want to talk a little bit about stress, that being a key part of the mindfulness-based stress reduction, that being a pretty key part of most people's lives. Stress, the way that we talk about it in the MBSR class, we distinguish stress from stressors. Stressors are the things that cause us stress. And stress is a normal physiologic reaction that we have to a stressor. And the stressor can be inside of us or outside of us. The outside ones might be other people, commonly are other people. It might be the environment, the traffic, the food, the temperature in the house, whatever it is. Anything outside of us that disturbs our equilibrium in any way, that's a stressor. And stressors can also be from inside of us. That can be sensations that we are aware of from the body that we're not comfortable with, a thought, a memory, a loop that we get stuck in our mind. These are stressors. It's very common for stressors to come from inside of us. So oftentimes people don't think of that. I think that's probably the most common place for the stressors to arise. My thinking. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this enough or that enough. Whatever it is, whatever these thoughts are, they cause a reaction. Our brain doesn't know. When we have a thought, if I tell myself I can't do this, my brain doesn't know that that's just a thought. It acts as if it's real. If I tell myself this is going to be awful, my brain acts like this is going to be awful. I better prepare. So stressors are what cause a stress reaction. Stress reaction all by itself is perfectly normal. It saves lives. It's this automatic fight, flight, or freeze reaction. We often have this reaction when we don't need it. There's actually nothing in our environment, nothing going on that is a threat. But we have these reactions all the time anyway. It's very common. A stress reaction is initiated when we perceive a threat. When we perceive this stressor, this thing outside of us or inside of us, when we have perceived a threat, then we are stressed. We have this reaction. And the first piece of it is a typical stress reaction that most people are aware of. It's the fight, flight, freeze response in the body where all of the blood flow to the core of the body gets shunted to the extremities. So our digestive system shuts down and our legs and our arms are prepared for action. We might feel tightness, muscle tension. There might be tension in the hands and the arms and the shoulders. We might feel tension in our face. The heart rate changes, the breathing changes. So there's this whole chemical cascade of events that happen within the body, preparing to deal with something threatening. If we notice that we don't need to deal with something threatening, that we may be in a place that it's not appropriate to run away, it's not appropriate to fight. Usually when a stress reaction has been initiated, it's not appropriate for us to do anything. We don't need to do anything. You know, we're in the middle of our workday and something triggered us, but we can't hit the person, so we internalize it, we stop it, we make it go away. And the only way that we can do that by pushing it down, by suppressing this stress reaction. And so what happens then is this energy just goes deep. It doesn't go away, it just goes deep. And if this happens again and again and again, day after day after day, month after month, years, for a lifetime of having these automatic stress reactions when something seems to be threatening, that can have effects on our health and well-being. Many of the symptoms that send people to medical providers these days have to do with some of the secondary effects of having these stress reactions over and over that have been internalized. High blood pressure, cardiac arrhythmias, sleeping problems, depression, anxiety. These can all be linked into these chronic stress reactions. And so we typically then do something about that. So we did something about the stress reaction, we internalized it. Then we have all these other symptoms, then we do something about that. You know, maybe we seek medical care, maybe we're taking medication to make these sets of symptoms go away, because that's a rather standard approach with the Western medical model. You have a certain set of symptoms, then typically you'll be given some sort of prescription that has another set of symptoms that will combat the first set, or that'll be worse, you know, so you won't notice these so much because now you notice these. You know, it's not really so much going for the cause of the problem, but just making the symptoms go away. So I make the symptoms go away however that happens. And there are some adaptive ways that we do that. There can be some very healthy things that we do. We talk about it, we walk around, we do something that winds up being more healthy. And we also have a lot of ways that don't wind up being more healthy. Again, we live in a culture that would tell us we can't be responsible for our health and well-being. A culture that would tell us that somebody else needs to take care of us. Somebody else has the professional training and the understanding of how bodies work, and they can make the symptoms go away. But that's not always the case. And with this sort of a mindset, you know, that these symptoms are scary, I have to make them go away. One very common thing that people do is get numb. They go numb. They don't want to feel that. They dissociate, they use drugs, they use alcohol, they use other trauma-reducing behaviors. You know, if the discomfort is extreme, then the way to get out of that discomfort may be extreme if they don't have a better approach. Cutting, throwing up, whatever it is, gambling. So we have ways of getting away from the distress that's caused by shoving this stress reaction into the body because we didn't need it in the first place. So how mindfulness can play a role in this cycle that people can get involved with, that we can all get stuck in this cycle of stress reactivity. Mindfulness, again, is present moment awareness, is noticing what's arising within our bodies, what's arising within our mind, noticing thoughts or emotions, ideas that come along. So that initial perception of threat is so often wrong. You know, it may be a reaction to a thought. It may be a reaction to something in the environment that reminded me of something else some other time that didn't turn out so good. And so now, you know, I heard a sound that it may not even have been consciously aware of that elicited this rising emotional state of distress that cued my brain that this was going to be a scary thing to do. I don't want to feel this distress. This distress in itself is a threat. And that, my reaction, my relationship to my own inner world can lead me to perceive a threat unconsciously. And that starts the stress reaction. And this can go on totally beneath the level of awareness. We just live in this circle of being triggered and making it go away and then doing something to make the distress of that go away. And with mindfulness, we start to notice the perception. We start to separate the stressor from the stress. Oh, that was a backfire. You know, I'm here. That reminded me of some other scary time, but that's right. I can Take a breath. I'm here. I'm right here in this moment. And that was a memory. Or what that person said really wasn't about me. That wasn't a threat to me. That reminded me of my mother, my father, my sister. That reminded me of some other time. And the feeling state, the emotional state from that other time started to flood my system, and I didn't want it to. But I notice, I can start with mindfulness to notice, oh, here I can feel a stress reaction rising. You know, maybe now I can notice when my heart changes rate. I can notice when my breathing changes. I don't have to wait until I'm in so much pain because my muscles are tight and I have done whatever trauma-reducing behavior I swore I would never do. I did it again because I was so uncomfortable. And then I woke up and oh man, I didn't have to do that. I can have those, you know, those waking up moments earlier and earlier in this circle, bringing mindfulness to the game. Being aware, whenever we wake up to this moment, whenever we become aware of this is what's happening with me right here, right now. What needs to be done? What can I do? If I don't need to act, I just have all this turmoil, I can be here. I can just be here with this turmoil. I can take a breath. And if nothing else presents itself, and take another breath. And after a bit, the doing, whatever is the right thing to do, will come out of the being, will come out of just being here with this moment, however it feels, until it becomes clear what is the most skillful, useful action. So that's how mindfulness can come to play in a stress reaction, in a stressful world, how we can learn to be responsive instead of reactive, to have choice, not to just be driven by our own habitual reactivity behavior.